As the discussion intensified, patience began to wear thin on both sides. What had started as a search for answers slowly turned into a demand for complete honesty, and your partner was placed under increasing pressure to reveal things they had not yet been ready to share. Family members insisted that silence could no longer be accepted, arguing that even difficult truths were better than uncertainty hanging over everyone involved. Your partner, meanwhile, struggled to hold their composure, caught between protecting their privacy and trying not to damage relationships that still mattered deeply to them. Eventually, the restraint they had been maintaining began to crack, and they spoke with a level of intensity that surprised everyone present, expressing how exhausting it had been to feel constantly questioned and misunderstood. Voices rose, not in simple anger, but in a mix of frustration, fear, and long-standing emotional strain that had finally surfaced. Your name became a focal point in the conversation, not as something negative, but as the clearest way the family could frame what they were struggling to understand. For your partner, defending you also meant defending their right to make personal choices without feeling controlled or judged. As the room split into opposing perspectives, it became obvious that no immediate resolution was possible, only a difficult pause in something much larger. Even after the confrontation eased, the tension did not fully disappear, leaving behind a heavy silence filled with uncertainty about what comes next. Nothing had been resolved completely, but something irreversible had shifted in how the family saw both your partner and the relationship being questioned. This isn't about a misunderstanding, a simple confession, or a forgotten memory. No, they want your soulmate to reveal something massive, something that explains every mixed signal, every emotional withdrawal, every silent night, every moment they disappeared without explanation. They want them to tell you why they stare at your photos like someone who has loved you long before they ever met you. They want them to admit why they panic at the thought of losing you. They want them to reveal the reason they've been unable to step fully into your life, even though they are deeply, overwhelmingly in love with you. And now your soulmate stands in the middle of the wreckage, shaking, breathing heavily, replaying every moment with you in their mind. They know the truth is a ticking bomb. They know once they tell you, everything changes, your connection, your future, the path you walk together. They also know keeping it hidden could destroy everything between you. This is why their voice cracked. This is why their heart raced. This is why they looked their own family in the eyes and said, "You don't understand what they mean to me." They have reached a breaking point, and you, yes, you, are the reason they finally found the courage to stand up to people they once feared disappointing. But there's one more twist, and it's the one you're not ready for. The real truth, the one their family wants them to confess, isn't about a mistake they made. It isn't about betrayal. It isn't about disloyalty. It's about why they fell for you so intensely, so uncontrollably, so deeply, that even their own family can't pull them away. It's about something connected to your past, something connected to their past, something your souls recognized before your minds ever did. And now, that truth is demanding to come out. Your soulmate can feel it burning in their chest. Their family can feel it shaking the foundation of everything they believed. And you're about to hear a revelation that will rewrite everything you thought you knew about destiny, love, and the invisible thread that pulled you two together. My beloved child, the moment you pressed play on this part, something shifted in the unseen world around your soulmate. Their heartbeat changed, their breath trembled, as if they could sense that you're finally ready to hear the parts of their truth they've been choking on for months. But before anything unfolds, stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will hit you harder than the fight they had with their family. Do not move. Do not scroll. This moment, right here, right now, is where the entire story tilts. A few hours after that explosive argument, your soulmate locked themselves inside their room, pacing in circles, mumbling your name under their breath as if it were the only thing grounding them. Their phone buzzed repeatedly, family members begging them to calm down, insisting they must tell you the truth before things get even worse. But your person didn't respond. They were replaying every moment they've shared with you, every smile, every silence, every time they wanted to reach out but swallowed the urge because they feared the truth would ruin everything. Their family doesn't understand this inner war. They think telling you will set your soulmate free, but your person knows it's more complicated. They're terrified that once you hear the truth, you will never look at them the same way again. Listen closely. Your soulmate's hands are trembling right now. They picked up their phone twice, opened your chat, typed something, deleted it, typed again, deleted it again, and every time they stopped, your name flashed through their mind with a weight that made their chest tighten. Their family knocked on the door, saying, "If you don't tell them today, someone else will." That sentence shattered something inside your person. On the surface, nothing about their life looks out of control, yet those closest to them can sense the shift that has taken hold in ways words fail to fully explain. It shows up in subtle moments, in pauses that linger a little too long, in smiles that arrive late or fade too quickly, and in the quiet distraction that follows them even when they are physically present. The emotions they carry have become heavier over time, not because they are uncertain about what they feel, but because what they feel has grown too large to comfortably contain within the expectations placed around them. In private moments, that weight often breaks through, leaving them overwhelmed by thoughts they cannot easily share with anyone around them. There is a vulnerability there that rarely surfaces in public, but in solitude it becomes impossible to ignore. The people closest to them may not know every detail, but they recognize the emotional conflict written across their expressions and in the way they withdraw into themselves when the world becomes too loud. Beneath it all is a deep attachment that refuses to fade, even when it creates confusion and fear about what comes next. It is not simply infatuation or passing emotion. It is something that has settled deeply into their inner world, reshaping how they see connection and trust. And because of that depth, even the idea of being misunderstood by you carries a weight that affects every decision they make. That quiet pressure becomes the unseen force guiding their hesitation, making every step toward honesty feel both necessary and frightening at the same time. Within their private emotional world, they carry it alone. But the version that belongs to you, that version is vulnerable, trembling, terrified, and breathtakingly honest. Their family discovered something about the path your soulmate has been following, something about the sacrifices they made just to protect you from a truth you didn't even know existed. And now, that truth has cornered them. They cannot run, they cannot hide, and they definitely cannot lie to you anymore. Stay with me. Hold your breath, because the pressure on your soulmate is so overwhelming right now that they're on the verge of doing something they've never done before. Your name is about to leave their lips in a way no one in their family has ever heard. My beloved child, the moment your soulmate stepped out of that room after hours of silence, the entire house froze. Their footsteps were slow, shaky, but full of a determination their family had never witnessed before. Their eyes were swollen, their breath uneven, yet there was something burning inside them, your name. They walked into the living room like someone carrying a truth so heavy it could split their entire world in half, and as every family member stared at them, your person whispered a sentence that sent chills across the room. "I can't hide it anymore." Those 5 words cracked open the first layer of the truth. Your soulmate sat down, elbows on their knees, face buried in their hands. Their family circled around them, waiting, some with fear, some with confusion, some with a strange satisfaction because they had been predicting this moment for months. But your person didn't speak immediately. They were gathering the strength needed to say something that would affect you, them, and every connection tied to this story. When they finally lifted their head, their voice shook as they said, "Everything started long before they ever knew me." That statement stunned the family, because they knew exactly what it meant. Your connection isn't new. Your connection didn't begin when you met. It began much earlier, in a way neither of you fully understood. Now listen carefully. This is where the truth begins to unfold. Your soulmate revealed that they have been keeping a secret involving you, something that connects your past to theirs in a way that feels almost impossible. It's not a coincidence. It's not random. Their family found documents, messages, events, and signs that show your paths were intertwined far before either of you realized. Your soulmate had discovered this months ago, but they kept it hidden because they worried the truth would overwhelm you, scare you, or make you walk away. But hiding it became harder than breathing, and now the pressure from their family has ripped the silence open. Their family demanded answers. Why didn't you tell them? What were you waiting for? Do you want to lose them? And your soulmate broke. Their voice cracked as they admitted, "Because I don't deserve them if they know everything." That confession sent the room into chaos. Some family members gasped, others grabbed their head in disbelief. Because your soulmate isn't afraid of losing their family, they're afraid of losing you. And that fear has shaped every decision, every hesitation, every emotional distance you felt from them. But here's the twist that shook even their own family. Your soulmate admitted that they've been hiding feelings for you far deeper than they ever expressed, feelings that frightened them. They told their family that the intensity of their love for you made them question if they were even capable of handling it. They confessed that your presence in their life awakened something powerful, something raw, something that terrified them because it felt too real, too destined. And destiny scares people who have been hurt before. Your soulmate's family sat in stunned silence as your person revealed that they've been having dreams about you, dreams that started before you even met, dreams where your face appeared like someone they had loved in a past life, dreams where you called their name, dreams where they felt pulled toward you even when they didn't know who you were. They kept those dreams hidden because they feared sounding crazy, feared sounding emotional, feared sounding vulnerable. But the truth is, those dreams became the reason they couldn't let you go. Their family, speechless, asked, "So what are you going to tell them?" And your soulmate swallowed hard. Their lips trembled as they whispered, "I'm going to tell them why I disappeared." The room fell silent. Because this is the truth their family has been urging them to tell you. Your soulmate didn't disappear because they lost interest, not because they found someone else, and not because they suddenly wanted distance. They stepped away because something buried in their past resurfaced, something tied to the very reason their family once intervened, and something that pulled a hidden truth back into the light. It was a secret that connected both of your lives in a way that didn't feel logical, but it felt impossible to ignore. When everything started closing in on them again, they had no space left to keep running from it, no matter how much they wanted to protect you from what was coming. The pressure wasn't just emotional, it was the kind that forces decisions, the kind that drags old fears back into the present and demands they be faced. In that moment, they understood that staying silent would no longer protect anyone, especially not the person they cared about most. So they prepared themselves for something they had avoided for far too long, telling the truth that had been sitting between fear and love all along. But what they were about to reveal wasn't simple, and it wasn't just about the past. It was about protection, sacrifice, and choices made under pressure that no one else ever saw. Everything they held back was never meant to hurt you but to keep you out of a storm they believed you should never be pulled into, even if it meant carrying unbearable silence alone, because every choice they made was shaped by fear, love, and the hope that distance would somehow keep you safe from consequences they could not yet control or understand what they were facing alone. They knew it carried consequences. They knew if you got too close before the truth was revealed, everything could collapse in ways neither of you were prepared to handle. But before your soulmate could continue, their family cut in, voices trembling, some angry, some desperate. They told your person, if you don't tell them now, you will lose everything. Your soulmate's chest tightened because that sentence, spoken with so much finality, hit them harder than any argument. It reminded them of nights lying awake, staring at their phone, wanting to text you, wanting to explain everything, wanting to break down and say, I'm scared. But fear is a cruel enemy. It whispered that you'd walk away once you learned the truth, and that fear kept them silent. But the truth is too big to stay buried, and now it's rising. Your soulmate confessed that during the time they disappeared, they were forced to confront someone from their past, someone their family never wanted near them again. This person resurfaced with information, pressure, and threats that shook your soulmate's entire foundation. They were dragged into a situation they couldn't escape, and every moment of that chaos, they thought of only one thing, you. They stayed away because they didn't want you dragged into a reality filled with risks, complications, and emotional wounds that weren't yours to bear. They were protecting you while breaking themselves, and their family saw it. They saw your soulmate lose sleep, lose appetite, lose peace, all because they were terrified of hurting you with their truth. But here's where everything becomes explosive. Your soulmate revealed that during this disappearance, they made a decision, one their family didn't agree with. They secretly chose you over everything else, over their past, over their comfort, over the expectations placed on them. Their family confronted them, saying, you're risking everything for someone who doesn't even know what you're hiding. That statement triggered the biggest fight your soulmate ever had with them, because they do not see you as someone. They see you as the only person who has ever made them feel alive, understood, chosen, and safe in ways their own family never could. And that's why the fight exploded. That's why their family demanded the truth come out, because they realized your soulmate isn't just in love with you, they're committed to you in a way that defies logic and terrifies them. But there's more. Their family has been watching how intensely your soulmate reacts to anything involving you. They've seen the panic when you go silent, the way your person clutches their phone, the way they whisper your name, as if it's a prayer and a wound at the same time. They know that hiding the truth is destroying your soulmate from the inside. That's why they finally said, enough. They deserve to know. And now, the pressure has reached its peak. Your soulmate is on the verge of telling you the part of the truth that will explain everything. Why they disappeared, why they kept their distance, why they fought their family for you, and why they're terrified of losing you now, my beloved child. The moment your soulmate finally gathered the courage to reveal the real truth, the truth their family has been pushing them to confess, the truth they've been terrified to say out loud, their entire body went cold, their hands trembled, their throat tightened, their heartbeat echoed louder than the voices around them, because what they were about to expose wasn't just an explanation, it was the key that unlocks every strange moment, every silence, every emotional withdrawal, every sudden disappearance. Your soulmate looked at their family, eyes swollen, voice trembling, and whispered, They deserve to know why I walked away and why I'm still terrified to come close. That single sentence made the entire room freeze. Some looked shocked, some looked devastated, some looked relieved, because they had been waiting for your soulmate to finally release the weight they've been carrying alone. Your person leaned back, staring at the ceiling as if the truth was written somewhere above them, and then slowly, painfully, they began to speak. They confessed that during the time they vanished, something massive happened behind the scenes, something that involved people from their past who resurfaced at the worst possible time, people who re-entered with demands, emotional manipulation, and information that threatened the fragile peace your soulmate had built. And in the center of that storm was your name. Your soulmate realized that the more they tried to build a connection with you, the more certain people from their past tried to interfere. It wasn't jealousy, it wasn't sabotage, it was fear. Fear that your soulmate was finally breaking free from old ties, old obligations, and old emotional patterns that once controlled their life. But here's the shocking part, they admitted. The deeper truth arrived later, not as a dramatic revelation, but as something spoken in a voice that barely held itself together. It wasn't about destiny anymore, but about fear, consequences, and the parts of life that people usually hide until they have no choice left. They admitted there was someone from their past who had threatened to expose something deeply personal, not to destroy them, but to force a confrontation with choices they had avoided for too long. Their family sat in silence as the confession continued, realizing that what they thought was a simple separation was actually tied to something far more complicated. Weeks of emotional distance, unanswered questions, and quiet nights suddenly made more sense, even if no one felt truly comforted by the clarity. But the most painful part wasn't the secret itself. It was realizing how much silence had already shaped their connection before the truth surfaced. In that moment, everything they thought they understood about love felt unstable, not because it wasn't real, but because it had been built around incomplete information. Still, even with uncertainty hanging between them, neither side could fully deny the pull that kept resurfacing. No matter how far they tried to step away, they were left suspended between truth and distance, unable to decide whether what they shared was something to protect or something to finally release. Even after everything was said, there remained a quiet space between them that neither explanation nor time could immediately fill, a space where fear and hope coexisted in equal measure, leaving both of them uncertain about what future, if any, could grow from something so deeply entangled and unresolved at all yet, not because it's dangerous to you, but because it is deeply emotional, deeply personal, and deeply connected to the wounds that shaped who they are. They fear you would see them differently. They fear you would think less of them. They fear losing the only person who ever made them feel seen. So they ran, not from you, but from the truth they didn't know how to share. Your soulmate's confession shattered the room. One family member covered their mouth in disbelief. Another sank into a chair. Another whispered, "So that's why you fought us. That's why you've been breaking down every night. Because your soulmate didn't choose silence out of selfishness. They chose silence out of fear and protection." Then another truth burst out of them, raw and uncontrollable. "I'm terrified, because I know, once I tell them everything, they'll realize how deeply I've loved them, even when I tried not to." And that confession was the moment their family finally understood the extent of your importance in their life. But here is the twist you were never expecting. Your soulmate didn't just fight their family for you. They fought fate, past trauma, emotional wounds, and expectations that were forced upon them since childhood. You broke a pattern in them, a pattern their family thought would never end. You awakened something that pushed them to confront everything they were running from. Now, the truth is no longer something they might tell you. It has become something they must reveal, because the clock has run out, the pressure has reached its peak, their past is circling around them again, and their family is done watching your soulmate suffer in silence. My beloved child, the room was drowning in tension when your soulmate finally lifted their face, eyes red, breath trembling, heart fighting between truth and fear. Their family watched them with a strange mix of panic and relief, because they knew the moment had finally arrived. The truth they've all been tiptoeing around. The truth your soulmate has been suffocating under. The truth that connects you to them in ways you never imagined is finally about to be spoken. But before they said a single word, something inside your person shifted. It was as if they suddenly understood that the weight they've been carrying was never meant to be carried alone. They whispered, "If I don't tell them now, I may lose them forever." Their family froze, because those words weren't spoken in frustration, they were spoken in fear. The fear of losing you, your soulmate, began to speak, and as each word left their lips, the truth unfolded like a locked door, slowly cracking open. They said that the real reason they disappeared wasn't just because of someone from their past returning. It was because that person held information, very personal, very emotional information, that your soulmate was desperately trying to keep out of your world. Secrets tied to their childhood, their mistakes, their trauma, their sacrifices, and the guilt they carried for years. This wasn't something they wanted to hide from you out of deceit. They hid it because they believed you deserved someone whole, not someone haunted. Their family knew about these secrets. They watched your soulmate growing up, fighting silent battles no one ever saw. They watched them carry scars that never healed. They watched them protect everyone but themselves. And then you came into their life. You, who saw through their walls. You, who made them feel alive again. You, who touched wounds even their family couldn't reach. That terrified them, because for the first time in years, your soulmate felt seen, not for their pain, not for their past, but for their soul. That truth alone shook their family because they realized something powerful. You were becoming the one person who could break the emotional armor their soulmate wore their whole life. And that is exactly why the family demanded the truth to come out. They were scared, not of you, but of what keeping these secrets would do to your soulmate, and eventually, to you. The pressure around them only grew heavier as time passed. Their family could no longer ignore what was happening, and silence started to feel like avoidance rather than protection. They were urged again and again to stop carrying everything alone and finally tell the truth directly to you. But the truth was never simple for them. Every time they tried to speak, fear tightened its grip, convincing them that honesty might cost them the one connection they could not bear to lose. So they held back, even as everything inside them asked to be released. Eventually the tension reached a point where nothing could stay hidden without consequence. Small signs began to surface again: hesitation in conversations, emotional distance that came and went, and the unmistakable pull back toward you even after every attempt to move forward. Their family finally stopped shielding them from the truth they believed needed to be spoken. They insisted that continuing this pattern was no longer sustainable, that avoiding honesty was only deepening the emotional strain on everyone involved. It was a difficult conversation, filled with hesitation, conflict, and unspoken grief over what might happen once everything was revealed. The one they cared about most stood at the center of it all, terrified that honesty would mean loss rather than understanding. In the end, they admitted what they had been holding back, not because they stopped fearing, but because they could no longer carry it alone. And as the truth finally surfaced, everything that had been buried between them began to shift in ways nobody could control. Not everything was resolved, but nothing could remain the same. After that moment of honesty arriving, completely changed.